Hi, Phanessa here. In this video, I am going to demonstrate how to crochet the summer drift poncho. So I'm just going to make a smaller sample just to show you how to work the stitches and how to construct the poncho. It's really easy. It's worked completely in one piece. So it does come in sizes XL all the way through 5X, and I'm going to provide information for adjusting if none of these work for you. It is meant to be very loose and flowy, so I made a large and it was nice and loose on me, so there are no sleeves, so the construction is quite easy. So for this little sample, I'm going to use Lion Brand's Pima Cotton. This is the color Pink Mist, and it is a category 4, 100% cotton. I'm going to be using a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook, a pair of scissors, a tapestry needle, tape measure, and a couple of stitch markers. Okay, let's get started. So for this pattern, I went ahead and used a foundation double crochet instead of chaining my stitches. Okay, so follow the pattern for the number of stitches that you need for the size that you're making. And this is adjustable, so you can work as many foundation double crochets as you need for the width of your poncho. Just make sure that you have stitches in multiples of 5. Okay, so I'm going to work my very first foundation double crochet. You want to chain 3. Now you're going to work into the very first chain right here. So there's 3 chains. It's the very first chain that you made. You're going to yarn over, insert your hook into that chain stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. Okay, you have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to chain 1 before you finish your double crochet, and the chain 1 is your foundation chain. Okay, so chain 1, and that's your foundation chain. Now you have 3 loops and you're going to complete a double crochet. So just like you normally would, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. Okay, so this counts as your first double crochet, and then there is your second plus your chain 1. So now we're going to work at the bottom base of this stitch. So let me turn that. So here you've created a foundation chain and then your double crochet. So you're going to work into the foundation chain. Let me show you where that's at. It's right at the base, and there's 2 loops there that you want to go through. Okay, so yarn over in the foundation chain here, so right at the base of the double crochet you just made, yarn over and pull up a loop. Okay, so we're going to repeat that process. We're going to chain 1 first, which is going to create the foundation chain. Oops, just chain 1, and then you complete a double crochet, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. So you can see here I created a foundation chain and a double crochet stitch. So the foundation double crochet is a great way to basically kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You're working your foundation and your double crochet at the same time. So you want to work your next one, yarn over into the base through 2 loops. Okay, this is the base of the one you just made. Yarn over, pull up a loop, and then don't forget you always want to chain 1 first, and then you complete your double crochet. Okay, so you can follow the pattern for the size that you're making. Okay, so you can see here you've got your foundation chains and your double crochet. Okay, so I have 25 double crochet stitches. So the stitch pattern is in multiples of 5 if you're not following the pattern itself, and if you're adjusting, just work as many as you need as long as it's in multiples of 5. Okay, so row 2, chain 3 and turn. That counts as your first double crochet stitch. I prefer to work the chainless double crochet stitch. It looks more like a double crochet and it has a much cleaner edge. So pull up a tall loop, okay, place your finger on the loop, don't let go until you're done. You want to bring your hook forward, around, and then you want to insert your hook into that first stitch. Yarn over and then pull up a loop. Okay, now you complete the stitch with yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, so see, that looks a lot better and it's cleaner. I don't work any edging for this poncho. You can if you want, but I don't, so this makes it look cleaner on the edge. Okay, so now you're just going to work 1 double crochet in every stitch across. So I have 25 stitches. I want to make sure I have 25 stitches at the end of the row. So when you get to the end of row 2, make sure you work into this last double crochet here. If you look just from here, it looks like it's done because it's sort of flat on this side here, but there's actually 1 more stitch that we need to work into. So if you're not sure, then make sure you count your double crochets and make sure you don't lose that last stitch. I always like to look at the bottom, first row, so you can see here that each of these stitches belong to one down here. So that one's there, that one is there, then there's those 2, and then there's this last one here just hanging out by itself. So you want to make sure you work into that very last double crochet stitch. Okay, row 3, chain 4 and turn. Again, you can work the chainless double crochet plus a chain 1. So the first 3 chains count as your double crochet, and then this 4th one is your chain 1. If you're working the chainless double crochet, just go ahead and work that and then chain 1. So we're going to skip this next stitch here and work a cluster stitch into this next one here. To work a cluster, you're going to yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Don't finish your double crochet. Okay, it's a 3 double crochet cluster, so you're going to do that 2 more times into the same stitch. You want to pull up a loop and then yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, 1 more time into the same stitch, yarn over and pull through 2. Okay, so now you have 4 loops. You want to yarn over and pull through all 4 and then chain 1. Now we're going to work a cross stitch. So we're going to skip one stitch between each stitch, basically, meaning between the cluster and the cross stitch there's going to be one skipped stitch and a chain one. So we're going to skip 2 stitches because we need to start in this third one and then go back to the other one. So skip 2 into the third, work a double crochet stitch. So into this next stitch here, which is the second one you skipped, you're going to work your double crochet, and that's your cross stitch. So you're crossing these 2 double crochet stitches. Okay, don't forget to chain 1. Now you're just going to repeat that all the way across. You want to skip 1, work your cluster, chain 1, skip 1, work your cross stitch, chain 1. You'll continue across and you'll end up with a cluster stitch, and then we'll work one last double crochet for the edge. So skipping 1, I'm going to work a cluster stitch. And chain 1. I'm going to now skip 2 and work 1 double crochet. And then I'm going to go back 1 stitch and work another double crochet. Chain 1. Chain 1. So when you're working this, just be careful with the cross stitches. Since they're pulling towards the center, sometimes it looks like these stitches are not used, and then you might miss that. I'm working my last cluster, chain 1. So you'll end up with 2 stitches left. You have this one here, and then if you chained 3, this is going to be your turning chain. You're going to skip this double crochet and work 1 double crochet into the last stitch. Again, if you worked a chain 3, you're just going to work your stitch right into the top of the chain 3. Now we're going to work 3 more rows of the lace stitch, and they're going to be staggered. So the cross stitch is going to be here and the cluster stitch is going to be here. So on this side, I'm just going to work the chainless double crochet. You can always chain 4, which counts as your first double crochet and a chain 1. So here's my double crochet. I'm going to chain 1. Okay, so we're going to work a cross stitch in this space and this space. So we're going to skip over to this space here and work a double crochet stitch. Then we're going to go back to this space here and work a double crochet. And then chain 1. Okay, in this space between the cross stitch, you're going to work your cluster. So right into that space, you may have to open it up a little bit. Work your cluster stitch, so the 3 double crochet cluster. Okay, that's 2 and 3. Chain 1. So just repeat that across. Now we're going to work a cross stitch in this space and this space. Always skip the first space, go into the next and work a double crochet. And then go back to your skipped space, chain 1 space, and work a double crochet stitch. Chain 1. Okay, so just repeat that all the way across. Just remember, you want to work your clusters right into the middle of your cross stitches, and then you want to work your cross stitches on the chain space on either side of your cluster, on both sides. And then there's always a chain 1 between each set. Okay, so now I'm at the cross stitch, so I'm going to open this up a little bit and then work my cluster stitch. Chain 1, work my cross stitch here, so because of the nature of these stitches, when you work the second set of lace stitches, when you're starting with the cross stitch, you're actually going to end up with one more stitch. It kind of threw me off a little bit for a while. So if you actually if you were making something else with this stitch and you wanted to not deal with that, then you would just make sure you always end on a row that starts and ends with a cluster. Okay, don't forget the chain 1, and then you're going to work 1 double crochet into the 3rd chain. So I chained this first double crochet in the last row because I wanted to show you where to put your place your double crochet into the 3rd chain. So down here I chained 4, which counts as 1 double crochet in a chain 1. So we're going to work 1 double crochet into the 3rd chain. So let me turn this around so you can see that better. So here's 1, 2, and 3. So that's going to be the chain that we're going to work into. If you worked your chainless double crochet, then you just work right on top of that stitch, which is easier, and why I prefer that as well. Okay, so like I said, because of the nature of this stitch, you have 1 extra stitch when you work this row here. So I'm going to work 2 more lace rows, and then we're just going to repeat those 6 rows. Okay, row 5, turn your work. I'm going to work a chainless double crochet and a chain 1. If you're just working chain stitches, go ahead and chain 4. And the chain 4 is going to count as 1 double crochet and a chain 1. And then chain 1. So this is a cross stitch. I'm going to work a cluster stitch right into the space between the 2 double crochets. Cross stitch, Okay, I'm at the end, and here is where I worked a chainless double crochet and a chain 1. So I'm just going to work 1 double crochet into the top of my chainless double crochet. Okay, if you're adjusting and you don't want to deal with the additional stitch after you complete another row, you can stop here, or you can just continue and then just make sure you decrease that extra stitch somewhere in your double crochet rows. So this is just a repeat of this row here. Chain 1, and then I'm going to work my stitches across. Okay, so this is a repeat of this row here, where I say you end up with an extra stitch. I'm almost done, and I'm going to chain 1 and work my last double crochet. Okay, now you want to work 2 rows of just the double crochet stitches. So I'm going to turn my work and work a chainless double crochet stitch. Okay, remember how I said that you'll end up with an extra stitch once you start your double crochet? Okay, so what you can do is work a double crochet 2 together somewhere in the center. So for row 7, you're going to work 1 double crochet in every stitch across. So that includes these chain stitches. Just work right into the space. So there's the first chain space. Okay, so this is the cross stitch. You want to work 1 double crochet in each of these stitches. And now you have a chain 1 coming up. Okay, right into the chain 1 space. Now the cluster is just 1 stitch, so just work 1 double crochet right on top of the cluster, and then continue across. Again, when you get about to the center, you want to work a double crochet 2 together. You can mark the center of your work right now so that you can do that, and move your stitch marker up as you work. You're going to have to find the center of your work when you get to the neck. So you can do that right now. Okay, so this here is the center of my work. So this section here. So what I'm going to do is decrease 1 stitch so that I can get back to my correct stitch count. Okay, so I have 2 space here and then 2 stitches here for the cross stitch. I'm going to decrease the 2 on top of the double crochet stitch. So that's the space. I'm going to work 1 double crochet. Now into these 2 stitches, I'm going to work a double crochet 2 together. So yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. So don't complete the double crochet. You want to then work into the second stitch here. Yarn over, into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through 2. Okay, so now you have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through all 3. Okay, so what we've done is decrease these 2 stitches into 1, and then you should be back on track with your stitch count. Okay, I'm at the end. Okay, remember there's a chain 1 here. If you worked a chain 4, you just go right into this space, and then you want to work 1 last double crochet into the 3rd chain of your chain 4. I have a chainless double crochet, so I'm going to work on the top of that. Okay, so now I'm back down to 25 stitches. Every time I started with a cross stitch here and here, I end up with 26 stitches. Okay, so now you just repeat rows 2 through 7 until you're happy with the length of the poncho. Okay, so you want to make sure that you stop after you have just 1 row of double crochet stitches. I'm going to stop here. This is going to be my front part of my poncho. I'm going to start on the back part. So on the very first row of the back, you're going to make a neck hole. So you're going to chain 3 or work your chainless double crochet. So find the center of your work. Mine is right here where I worked my double crochet 2 together. You're going to measure out for the size you want for your neck. For my large, that was about 10 inches. And you just want to make sure that it's the same number of stitches going this way and that way. So basically you just want to make sure it's centered. Because this is a sample, I'm just going to mark a few stitches. So here is my center. I'm going to mark this center stitch here, just temporarily so I can count. So you can follow the pattern for how many stitches you need to block off, or you can take a tape measure and measure the size you want, and then make sure that you mark it off in the center. So I'm going to count, let's see, 1, 2, 3. Let's just go 3 stitches out and then 3 stitches out the other direction so that I have 7 stitches blocked out. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. I'm going to mark it right there, and I can take off my center marker. Okay, and just to double check, I want to make sure I have the same amount of stitches here and here. Okay, so I'm centered. Now I'm ready to start the first row for my back portion. So you want to start with a chain 3 or a chainless double crochet, up to you. Okay, so you're going to work double crochets until this stitch here. You're not going to work into the stitch marker. All right, so 1 double crochet until the stitch before the stitch marker. Okay, so I'm at the marker. Now a little tip, if you're not quite sure because your yarn may stretch, I would make the neck hole wider, so larger, rather than smaller, because if it's too wide, you can just slip stitch the 2 pieces together or sew them together. If you make it too short, you can't get your head through it, then it's really hard to kind of take apart. So if you're adjusting and you're making up your own size, just keep that in mind. So I want to count the number of stitches I blocked off. If you worked a double crochet 2 together here, just make sure that you count that as 1 and not 2. Okay, so you can see 2 posts, but it's just 1 stitch. So I've got 1, 2, 3, and this is my decrease, so that's 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have 7 stitches blocked off. So now I'm going to work 7 foundation double crochets. So whatever number of stitches that you marked off, that's the number of foundation double crochet stitches that you want to work. Okay, so you're going to yarn over, and then into the same stitch that this one's coming out of, you want to insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, And then just like your foundation double crochet, you want to chain 1 first. And then you're going to yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. So that's your very first foundation double crochet. Just like in the foundation that we worked, you're going to go into the base of your last stitch made and work your foundation double crochet. Always chain 1 first, and then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. Okay, so that's 2 double crochets. I want to make sure that I work 7 of those. So right into the base, chain 1, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. So now I have 3. Okay, so now I'm ready to join this piece to this piece, and this was the part where I played with a lot of different methods, and I think I found this one to be the best. So you're going to yarn over, insert your hook in the base, just like before, yarn over, pull up a loop. Now you're going to chain 1. And then to finish your double crochet, you're going to insert your hook into this stitch here. So skip the one that's marked and work into the next one. Okay, so you're going to insert your hook and yarn over, and then you're going to pull through that loop and then the next 2 loops. Yarn over and pull through 2. Now you have joined the 2 pieces, and continue working 1 double crochet in each stitch across. Okay, so now you have your neck hole. Okay, so now you just repeat rows 3 to 7 once, and then repeat rows 2 through 7 until you have the same number of rows as you do for the first half of your poncho. Okay, so I have completed the other side and ended with the 2 rows of double crochet stitches, and then you're done. You're just going to fasten off, yarn over, and then pull all the way through, and then weave in your ends with your tapestry needle. Okay, so this is my mini poncho. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please let me know if you have any questions. Leave a comment below, and if you haven't, please subscribe. Hit that notification button so that you'll be notified every time I post a video. I'll see you next time.